All right, I'm here with Dr. D. Andrade. Great to meet you, Dr. D.
Yes,
Just
yes.
for short, because we're saying it's not an easy one to say.
Yeah, exactly. That
Not
last
easy
name
one
is
to
not
say.
easy.
And you're practicing longevity medicine. It's a very big umbrella. You're here in South Florida.
Miami.
Okay, awesome. And how long have you been doing this?
First of all, thank you for having me here today.
course,
It's an
yeah.
absolute pleasure. I want to say a decade, but it's not a decade. It's 8 years.
Okay.
So started a little bit before COVID, and here we are today. And then we've morphed into a 50-state licensed telehealth.
Very cool.
So yeah, we're in Miami, but we're kind of like presence all over.
Branching out. With that, how have you seen this field, longevity medicine, functional medicine, how have you seen it change in the last 5 years?
A lot, man. Look,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, like years ago, talking to patients, for example, I remember saying, "Hey, this peptide," and they're like, "Pet what? What's a peptide?"
Yep.
I've heard this so many times. Like, what's a peptide? And now people are like, "Oh, do you know about peptides?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then but it went from "What's a peptide?" to like, "Oh, you are the peptide guys."
Yeah.
People would call us that. I'm like, I don't know about peptide guys. Like, we do medicine. What I've seen the most is that people are being very they're very educated now in regards to what they were before. And I think the amount of information that the patient has is huge, which points us into a direction and a time and place for us as healthcare providers where it's important for us to also step up our game, because now we're having competition from other people in the public that perhaps are not so prepared to present these therapeutic modalities, et cetera. So the biggest change is how educated the patient themselves are.
That's a great segue into my next question, because sometimes you see it online. Like, I'll do a post about a peptide, and then I say out the comments, man. I've learned to say out the comments. It gets a little bit, it's a food fight, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then people will start saying things like, "Oh, well, the doctors are, they're upcharging and they're just making money on it, yada yada." There's just almost like this thing where it's like, I can go get these things from here because you guys are just overcharging in the pharmacies. And it's just like, wait a minute, that's not what we're doing here. We're trying to take care of you. So with that being said, do you think longevity medicine is at a risk of becoming more transactional versus transformational?
Oh, wow. I think medicine, doctors, clinicians need to step up their game in terms of communication. The marketplace is always going to follow what it's going to follow. And the thing is, now we're having people that are really well-spoken, know marketing, et cetera, coming into our space with many times bad strategies, and a lot of bad products, right? So if we don't step up our game and actually show transparency too, like, for example, us at Biohax, I have a program that I completely show patients the items at cost, and they pay us a membership fee, and then I'm like, and we don't make a penny on them. I'm like, listen, this is the best pricing you're going to get on actual good items. Anything lower than this, guess who's the guinea pig? You are.
Yeah.
You're the guinea pig. So the thing is transparency and communication. I think our communication, and then maybe kind of leaving a little bit the whole doctor. We have that little doctor clinician framework that's very like very stiff, and then people want to have friendliness, communicate well with their client, understand them, right? So I think that's a big part of it too.
It's huge. It's huge because it's not just a transaction; it's a relationship, right? And they want to build that trust in you, right? And so having the ability to communicate and, like I said, not being so stiff and just it's obviously a conversation because they're choosing to work with you,
Absolutely.
right? Because especially now, you mentioned earlier, there's so much competition, right? Not just brick and mortar, but even telehealth, right? And they can look anywhere. And so at the end of the day, like I don't have any peptides you don't have.
Right.
I don't have some type of testosterone you don't have. I got the same shit. Right. But but that person chooses to work with you because of the relationship, how your staff treats them, how you treat them, right? And that to me is what builds it. So I think you're right, same page with that. It's a relationship that we're building, right, with the patient. What separates a sustainable longevity practice from a trend-based one?
100% is the relationship. So long term, where the families are going to come back. Look, I never ran an ad. I'll say it again. I never ran an ad in 8 years. I never had to run an ad.
Good.
I had people this week asking me, it's like, "Oh, so how do you get all these patients?" They're like, "What's your marketing strategy?" I'm like, "There is none. It's word of mouth." Right? And obviously you can't give patients anything. There's no kickbacks there, obviously. So it's just like pure word of mouth. And it's like, if you do a good job and if you create a relationship, if you know your freaking patients' kids' names, if you you ask them about the vacation that they told you last time that they were, like, if you actually care, they will feel it that way, And then if you're good at what you're doing and if you provide results, be it weight loss, cardiovascular, neurological, whatever the target is, why would they leave you? You see what I'm saying? Why would they leave you when you create that, because everybody's like, me and you are hanging out. We're at the gym, right? And then you tell me, hey, I'm going to buy a new car, whatever. I'm like, oh, I got my guy. Let me, Or, hey, I need a barber. I got the guy.
Yep.
How about it's like, hey, I need a doc. I got the guy.
Right.
I want to be that guy.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I'm
it.
saying?
And
It's
that is the majority of our patients. That's
Right.
literally it. It's that referral base, right? And nothing is a better endorsement for your practice than someone saying, I'm going to send my family to you. That's it.
Oh, of course.
Nothing's bigger than that.
I got one more point, actually, and then operations.
Yeah.
So we're very, very big on operations. Like, so on the business side, we have a team of ninjas, so to make sure the ball doesn't drop. And then we're very high touch and follow-up. So that to me is very important. We've gained patients from other places where you could tell they dearly love their clinician, but they're like, the ball drops too much, or we don't get a call, or et cetera, et cetera. So operationalizing things properly is a must.
Yeah, it is. That was one of the first lessons one of my business coaches taught me, was like, hey, look, you can be the best doctor in the world, but if they hate your staff, they're gone. And they'll write the review like, hey, doc's great, can't work with the staff. And that happens a lot. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a big mistake there, but there's others. And so what are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing practices and clinics kind of repeat in the industry?
Some of the biggest mistakes is still being traditional minded. So a lot of things that we've learned, being very stiff, right? And not understanding that we're a persona. Everybody's a persona. Everybody's a persona. So you are your own brand, etc. But we're taught to be this kind of one brand, like in med school, when I went to med school, et cetera. It's like, you're going to present research like this, you're going to talk this way, you're going to be dressed like this, you're going to, like, it's an unspoken language of how you have to act. And then you don't think outside the box. So for sure, I think the industry still has, it's thinking outside the box. In even some people in our space that are still like not embracing innovation. I think being innovative, thinking outside the box, and presenting yourself as a brand. What am I trying to say? If you like skateboarding, post about it. Post your family, post skateboarding, and post medicine, and divide it medicine 50%, skateboarding 25%, and family, another 25%. And the people that are going to follow you, it's not because of the skateboarding, it's because they see you as a person, they see who you are, they see your hobbies, your traits, and then maybe, I don't know, dress a little different, sometimes, connect. I'm going to tell you, depending on who I'm seeing, I see a lot of young people, football, we see at the clinic, like football players, big YouTubers, etc. I will change the way I dress according to who I'm going to see. It's not a shallow thing. It's not something, I want to connect with the patient. You see what I'm saying? So,
Gotcha, yeah.
So thinking outside the box and being innovative.
Okay. Leads me to a really cool question. I like this one. Did you prepare these, or?
No, I never heard them in
really?
my life.
Oh, this is kind of cool. Yeah. This is like rapid fire. This is where it's like more spontaneous, but this is a really cool one that leads everything you've said, and you built this great practice. But if you were starting over today, what would you do differently?
I would have really built my team differently. I have the same core team of when I started.
Okay.
But I went through a lot of headaches in team building. I would have built my team with a little bit more of a mentality of like, let's get our work done. But I tried to corporatize for a minute, and now if you ask me, I'm like very against the corporate culture. So I was very, I was like growing. I hired a C-suite at one point, and that hurt me a lot. Like my revenue went backwards after year 3. For 2 years, I had to fix that. I had to really get back and grab the bull by the horns. So that right there was like, I fell into the little corporate culture thing, and that hurt me a bit. And how we have it now, it's like this family environment, Navy SEALs kind of deal. Like we're like super tight together. And then I listen a lot more to my team. So if my team somebody in there doesn't jive with them, or leadership's having a hard time, I don't ask questions. Before I used to sit down and let me try to figure this out. And like it was too, no. Like, of course we keep it extremely professional. Yeah. But I corporatized, and I would have done that a little different today.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you're building a team and there's that person that's not a team player,
exactly,
or they don't vibe with the team, What I've learned is it does not get better.
Exactly.
And I spent money like, hey, let's bring like a coach in here.
Yes,
And they do team building. Let's go Dave and Buster's. Let's go bowling. And
I've done all that. Yes.
Dude, and you're like, okay, you know what? You got to identify it and you got to cut it out.
Perfect. So that's my big thing. I spent a lot of time with, and I'm just going to call it by what it is, like rotten apples. And it's like people that's like, and like I said, my clinical director, I know her since she's 3 years old. Our operations director, she's been with the company's 8 years old. She's been there for 8 years. Our youngest nurse practitioner has been with us for 6 years. I mean, we just hired more nurse practitioners now, but so we have a really solid core team. But the thing is, it's like, and then these girls, and bless their heart, my core team's been frustrated because I've let certain people in, and it's like, and they just don't want to work. They don't want to be happy. They don't want to, so it's like, no, you want to know what the HR is? Here, you have a strike system, and if you don't like how this thing works, here's professionally how we're going to let you go. Yeah. And I spent a lot lot of time trying to woo-saw the thing, and I'm like, it doesn't work, and I did it multiple times. So that really, if you ask me, I think that held me back like 3 years in growth.
Yeah, it's huge. Mm-hmm. It's huge because then and then especially if they're practitioners and they got a patient base, and it's gosh, now I got to figure out where these people are going to go, and it's hard. It's not easy. Looking into the future, who wins the next 5 years? The best clinician or the best marketer?
I hate to tell you, it's the marketer. Yeah. It's the marketer. Look, I know I'm really close with a lot of, I won't even say their positions at which hospitals or whatever, just or else I'm going to give away who they are. Yeah. But some of the pioneers in their area, and I was talking to one of them the other day, and he's like, why am I not famous? I should be famous. The guy's cited on Google Scholar close to 70,000 times.
Wow. Yeah,
okay, legend. And I do think he should be like uber famous, but he doesn't have a marketing arm behind him. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, there's a lot of people selling garbage out there. And then, and I'll tell you this: there's people that have come to the clinics like, how come I never heard of this? How come did I? Especially nowadays, people have kind of. Most of the stuff that we do is becoming mainstream, but when it wasn't mainstream, like 5 years ago, none of this was mainstream. And it's still on its up and up. But I would tell people all the time, like, look, the best doctors that I know, and and I know right now, like, I know there's docs that are sweating bullets to figure this out, like, and me included, right? Like, how do I get my message out? How do I get my persona out? How do I, how? And the truth is, there's a bunch of people selling garbage on the internet. And they know it's their art. They know how to do it. And if we don't improve our messaging and communication, and unfortunately, who's going to suffer is the marketplace, is the patients.
You're not going to turn that guy into. They always start with the, hey guys, I'm here. I'm in Whole Foods. Hey guys, I'm in Whole Foods.
That's funny.
Just checking out the latest, tinctures in here. You're not going to turn him into that.
Yeah.
But if it's a way to get he might be the guy that's like, look, I'm straight science, but making that science kind of like, how can someone digest it, right? And that's what people will follow that, right? Because I get it, man. It's hard because I've had people like, oh, you got to do more of this stuff. And it's like me, I'm not that guy. I'm more, hey, let me put some science out there. Let me do this. But it's a skill set to that, right? But if you have a good marketing team, they can turn that into something that people want to see.
Absolutely.
They might put some B-roll in it and some cutaways and all that. Just make it look good, right? And so that's so important, man.
There's also, like, what you're describing is a certain type of influencer. But, like, for example, there are the people that are extremely intellectual, the doctors like us, that are very, very, very intellectual, will speak even differently than I'm speaking, use words that are, just higher level. There's a space for them too, because we'll follow the daylights out of them, right? Like if those guys are presenting studies and so, but even a little hard to digest, but they are going to have their community, etc. So I think there's a time and place for everybody out there. As a micro influencer, as just a persona, or even you have a really good email list. Nobody knows your face or anything, but you the emails you're putting out are great. So I think we really. I keep saying it, but I think we have to up our game in that because it's competition's
tough. We do. And I say this so often, I feel like a broken record, is that when we don't use our voice, it's a vacuum. And that vacuum gets filled by these people you're talking about, the great marketers, maybe even some influencers or now practitioners who are like, hey, they're educating these people on peptides, for instance, because there's not enough docs using their voice for it.
Absolutely.
You got to use your voice, It's just like fill the void because people are going to find it anywhere. Before I let you go, man, for people that want to know more about you and Biohax, how can they find you and find more about the practice?
Biohax Medical is our 50-state licensed telehealth. Biohax Dental is the boss's company, my wife. She's a holistic dentist, so you guys go there. And then we have this new product rolling out that'll be on biohax.com. We created our own epigenetic supplements. So they're, I'd like to say, the most customizable supplements in the world. So it's basically you do a finger prick, the results come, and then we custom make your supplements off of your epigenome.
Wow.
And we could do up to 61 supplements. So it's pretty crazy.
That's
So
cool.
that's the ecosystem, or just follow us on Biohax, our social medias.
Okay, and that's BIOHAX.
Correct.
Gotcha,
correct.
gotcha. Cool. And just follow it there.
Yeah, let's go.
Hey, man, it was great to meet you. Good
Such a
talking
pleasure,
to you
man.
for
Such a
sure.
pleasure, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.